Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall. Clay Hall, wow, we just keep pounding out these shows, my man. And the interesting thing is Ohio State keeps pounding out the wins. You know, we cover Ohio State primarily, you know, almost exclusively on this show because it is the number one team in the country. Now that the polls reflect probably the true top five in the country, the two top three for sure, Ohio State, Miami, and Oregon, in whatever order you want to put them in. But that is the true top three compared to the top two that what the Associated Press had at the beginning of the season, which was Texas and Penn State, both of whom took a licking and because they couldn't keep kicking. And were removed from the Associated Press top 25 after taking their second losses each of the season. Penn State shockingly losing to Jerry Neuheisel and the revitalized UCLA Bruins, who couldn't get out of their own way, much less New Mexico's way a few weeks ago. Coaching change, I guess, can make a difference. But Ohio State just seems to be getting better and better. I thought Minnesota was a credible opponent on Saturday night in Ohio Stadium, and Ohio State methodically put them away with big plays in the passing game because it was clear that Minnesota was bound and determined not to let Ohio State run the ball. Minnesota's very good against the run, but people forget. I'm not sure Minnesota forgot. I talked to Matt Wilhelm about this in our weekly session here coming up in a few minutes. I talked to him about the fact that Minnesota really didn't move away from what it's doing defensively this year. And that might be because do you throw everything out the window just to play one team, you know, defensively, your whole scheme. And they stuck with their man-to-man coverage for the most part. And Julian Sayin throwing to Carnell Tate, who had a career night, 9 catches, 183 yards, I think it was. 3 catches over 44 yards or longer, including a 44-yard takeoff, which he just ran right by his defender for a touchdown. And Julian Sayin put it right on the money. But you know, Julian Sayin was once again 23 out of 27 for over 300 yards. Boy, he's getting better. It seems like every possession, Julian Sayin seems to be getting better. And, of course, Jeremiah Smith right there for the cherries on top, 2 touchdowns, a couple of ripped lasers by Julian Sayin to Jeremiah Smith for a couple of touchdowns. You were there. I asked Julian Sayin, I mean, boy, it sure seemed like you really had pop on your fastball tonight, you know, along with great touch on some other passes and stuff. But we saw what separates Ohio State, in my opinion, from anybody else in the country now. Is if you do decide to stone their run game, they can beat you big time throwing the ball.
Well, Julian Sayin's development as a passer is probably numero uno on the checklist for Ohio State in ways that they have improved, or the defensive line play up front. But I think it's Sayin. He's an 80% passer, Tim, and 7 of his 13 touchdowns are more than 40 yards. And to me, we don't see him every day, but that smile in the post-game podium gets bigger every week because he is settling in. He's relaxed. He has these great targets, which makes his job so much easier. But as a deep ball thrower, can you think of anybody at Ohio State recently? And
Will Howard got pretty good at the end of the year last year as the season progressed.
And C.J. Stroud was awfully
good.
But
we were questioning Julian Sayin. I mean, we weren't, but people were questioning Julian Sayin's deep ball prowess at the beginning of the season. Yeah. And I even asked him, remember, after the Grambling game. Now, they were playing Grambling. He put balls around the money. And like he talked about, he worked on that in the weekend between the opener and the Grambling game, the opening win over Texas, because, you know, they hardly let him throw the ball against Texas.
No, exactly.
But he worked on that and got obviously a lot better. Dude, you go back and watch his video. I keep reminding people, whatever you are in high school, you know, if you keep improving, you're going to be an improvement over what you see of these guys playing in high school for a couple of reasons. Number one, you are getting better. The players you're playing with are better. But you go watch him throw some balls in high school. I mean, at Carlsbad High School back in California, and he had it going on. And the idea that, but the thing is, in-game speed, things like that, when you've got Jeremiah Smith, the number one receiver in the country, Carnell Tate, number one, probably, I could make a case for him being 1A, number one receiver in the country. Both of them definitely in the top 5. But then you get the adjustment. Y'all adjusted at the same time, including what the defense is doing, the speed of the game as it goes along, your speed in a game, which is different even from practice. Julian Sayin was on the money the other night again. He leads the nation in passing efficiency. He leads, I think, he leads the nation in completion percentage, I do believe. And the reason is he's damn good.
Well, the throw in the corner to Jeremiah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
he getting back over to that and bam.
Oh, man, he just throws on such a line. And then the ball to Carnell, who was 2 or 3 yards behind. It was perfectly placed. Yeah, he's remarkable. And if they keep protecting him, then Ohio State's going to be awfully tough to beat because if I'm not mistaken, Bo Jackson and their backs are well over 6 yards a carry. So they didn't run for a lot of rush yards Saturday.
But they stuck with it.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, as Matt and I talk about, Matt Wilhelm and I talk about, and I bring this up, what Ohio State has going for it is Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. And you'll hear me use this term. They're the dynamite.
I'd say.
You decide you're going to lock.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to lock up Ohio State running the ball at the beginning of a game, put some dynamite on it, and boom, all of a sudden, now what are you doing? And like I said, I give Minnesota credit if in fact this was their intention, because I don't know this. I wasn't in the Minnesota post-game interview situation, but they kind of stuck with their guns about what they're all about defensively this year, and they ended up paying the price for it. But they stuck with their guns, like we're not throwing this game plan. We're not throwing this plan we've worked on since spring out the window defensively to play one team
because
that happens to be a freak team with a couple of freaks at wide receiver, guy coming along, a couple of freaks really coming along at tight end, and then a running game that if you relinquish it, if you back off a little bit, they can burn you too. But Ohio State just had too much for Minnesota from an offensive standpoint. And
well, we both
that's I'm not calling that a luxury. Ohio State has built this, over the last many years under Ryan Day, and it's coming to fruition. And you still got a quarterback who's still learning a few things.
And as you said, Minnesota probably is a credible opponent, but we both had it kind of nailed. I said Ohio State in the 40s. You said 41. I thought they'd score 6 or 10 or 12 or whatever. But this is.
I had 41. I had 41-7. I thought they would score a touchdown.
Right. And we'll see. Now you got 2 road games. We'll see if they can keep humming. But the odds are they will.
I think they're singing, man.
Yeah.
I don't think they're humming. They're singing. Including Carmen, Ohio at the end of the games. But no, they're not. They've gotten past the humming part. They're singing. They know the words. Now they need to add maybe a few more verses. But what stands out about this team, on top of everything else, is defensively, Matt Patricia and the staff, Tim Walton, James Laurinaitis, Larry Johnson, Matt Guerreri. Dude, they take that one, and Matt and I talk about this too. Maybe I should just go ahead and get to the Matt Wilhelm part of the show. But we talk about this too. I said, I call it taking the measure of the opponent on their first possession. They did that again at Washington. Mm-hmm. They did that.
Gave up a drive.
Right. And then they gave up same thing to Minnesota. Minnesota's coming in with a plan. And boy, first possession looks like the plan's pretty decent.
Yeah.
except you can see Patricia, and it's not just Patricia and staff, but also the players taking the measure of what it is Minnesota's going to try to do.
Yeah.
Because everybody's different.
Dink and dunk.
Everybody has a plan going in, as the old saying goes, until you get punched in the mouth. Yeah. And so Minnesota got a few jabs in, and then Ohio State came back and punched them in the mouth defensively. And this is still an Ohio State defense that isn't getting turnovers,
No.
And so if that ever happens,
oh gosh,
Katie bar the door.
Right.
But the way this defense adjusts to what the other team is throwing at them, figuratively speaking and literally speaking, is amazing to me through 5 games. And I reiterate, Ohio State has given up 2 touchdowns in 5 games defensively. That's not a fluke at this point.
5 points a game.
Have they played the best team they're going to play this season? I don't know. And then the question right now is, well, what is that best team? Is it Penn State?
I think it's Indiana.
It might be Indiana, but it would be in the Big Ten championship game, obviously.
Okay.
They don't play in the regular season. Check your schedules, ladies and gentlemen. But the bottom line is it's been very interesting. And now, of course, now the big deal is, well, how good is Ohio State? Because Penn State, Texas has been beaten twice. How good is Washington? Washington struggled, but came back and scored 23 unanswered points to win at Maryland.
Huge win for them.
All the way across the country after hosting Ohio State the week before.
Down. Yeah, they got down.
So I think Washington's pretty good. I think Washington's really good, to be honest with you, but not on the level of Ohio State. And of course, we know how good or bad Grambling is. And in Minnesota, came in 3-1, had a great comeback win the week before against Rutgers. I know Rutgers. But the bottom line is they were feeling good about themselves, but this is an Ohio State team that's just a cut, 2 or 3 cuts above. And, P.J. Fleck reflected that in his post-game comments about the defense being the best defense he's seen in 13 years.
And Ohio State's going to apparently redshirt C.J. Hicks and Malik Hartford. Hey, we don't need you this year.
Right.
And C.J. was going to be, I thought, the X factor off the edge, and yet they're doing fine without him.
Well, he helped make plays, helped make a couple plays at Washington a week before. And then, it is what it is. The Jalen McClain rise at safety next to Caleb Downs is one of the great stories of this team thus far, along with the way Tywan Malone has stepped up at defensive tackle, a place where they were shorthanded from a depth standpoint going in. But then also the way we already knew Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson were pretty good, but the way they've stepped up and now the lead roles. And of course, Kenyatta Jackson had to leave the game again the other night with a head bump, and we'll see if that carries through this weekend. He did that, I think, against Texas in the season opener.
Right.
And so we'll see how severe that is. But he got a head bump by hitting the Minnesota quarterback in the back with a great rush coming off the edge one time. So, but then Zion Grady, there he is stepping in.
258 pounds. He can pursue. My goodness. He's got 2 tackles for loss, a sack this year. You plug and play. I mean, my goodness. Yeah.
Plug and play. Yeah.
He's
pull off the shelf, plug and play.
There you go.
But the bottom line is, the way they're mixing and matching, and then the linebackers are playing extremely well. Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, and then Peyton Pierce.
Lorenzo Styles had a game.
Yeah. Lorenzo Styles Jr. had the Brandon Ennis throwback on the punt, in which I don't know about you, but it's good to see Ohio State run a play like that occasionally.
Exactly.
To show that they actually aren't dull.
Hey, Michigan, think about that.
Yeah.
Just mix it up a little bit. Adding little wrinkles.
Yeah. Throw it out there, so to speak, see what happens.
Yeah.
And you'll hear me ask Sonny Styles, or is he going to work with Lorenzo, his older brother, on his speed this week? Because he did get kind of caught. I mean, Lorenzo Styles Jr. told us he wanted to score on that play, but I reminded him, I remember watching a play where his man went in motion because he was in there, with the extra defensive back was in there on one play. His man went from motion from one side of the field all the way to the other, and then the ball was thrown to him, and Lorenzo Styles Jr. broke up the pass.
Right.
He ran about 70, 80 yards on that one play.
Amazing.
Yeah, and because he came over with a guy and he went back over with him. And so Yeah, the defensive backs, man, they do a lot of running. So,
and he was a receiver, caught a long ball against the Buckeyes.
Well, if you remember, he started his college career at Notre Dame as a wide receiver.
There you go.
And then moved to Ohio State and said, defensive back is going to be my thing. And, boy, the Styles family, they've got two players, two youngsters. Is Sonny even 20 yet? I think he is.
I think he is.
I'm just
finally.
joking.
Yeah.
But they got two sons playing on the number one team in the country, on the number one, in my opinion, number one most effective defense in the country.
Sure.
But I tell you what, speaking of playing defense, this guy played defense at Ohio State at a very high level, including on a national championship team in 2002, was an All-American, and moved on to the NFL where he was on a Super Bowl championship winning team with the Green Bay Packers, Matt Wilhelm. Let's get to my weekly. What do you think? Let's get to my weekly conversation with Matt Wilhelm.
Oh man, I always enjoy these times of the week. I know I say that every week, but I don't care. I don't mind repeating myself. I'm 71. I'm allowed to do such. But Matt Wilhelm, once again, welcome to the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, my friend.
It's great to be with you, and as always, up to this point at 5-0, it's great to join you after another Buckeye victory.
Let me ask you this right off the bat. I asked Brian Day this question a few weeks ago, and it was apropos again on Saturday night. But you had to pick and choose who you're going to talk to after the game because they brought so many guys in at the same time, including Ryan Day and Carnell Tate. So I went back and talked to Carnell Tate. But I posed this supposition. I don't even know if that's correct, the word. But when you've got Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, you've got almost not get out of jail free cards, but kind of close, right? When things aren't quite clicking offensively. I thought things were clicking from the get-go for Ohio State offensively the other night. But the biggest thing that screamed about Ohio State's offense going against Minnesota's defense was Ohio State's got Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, and Minnesota doesn't have anyone who can cover them consistently. That is such a luxury, I would think, on any level, but especially the college level. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. And I think what you just kind of said is the challenge that every defense that we're going to play this year is going to be under, which is cover them consistently. So you can, and the reason why I say that is, and again, you said it and I'm regurgitating it, but this is for the folks listening at home or, wherever you're at, is you can cover Jeremiah for the first quarter or the first and second quarter. And then all of a sudden you lax for whoever's covering him, or the umbrella coverage over top of him doesn't quite get to where they're supposed to be, their landmark.
Yeah.
And a player like Jeremiah can open up the game, right? That could be a slant that he just makes one guy miss and takes it 70 yards on a 3-yard reception that he runs for 70 yards.
Yeah.
That means he can make a move off the line that he's made all game long, but that umbrella coverage has been there to protect that corner that's playing him underneath. And all of a sudden, that umbrella coverage doesn't get there, and Jeremiah runs past the umbrella, perfectly thrown Julian Sayin ball, touchdown. And now what we've seen is the same thing, the Batman and Robin aspect. Now we saw Carnell Tate do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think, what's very interesting about, and I love the shot play by Brian Hartline, right after the 4th down stop to go right for the jugular and throw, on the double move or the stutter go to Carnell Tate is Carnell Tate. And it's not that he can't do it and he hasn't shown it. He has. Carnell Tate has really been the 5-yard to 25-yard guy, in that and dominates that increment of the football field with the route tree or the routes that he runs in this offense. And I think now what you've shown is you've got two guys that can take the top off of a defense. Mm-hmm. And so go back to your point. How do you cover that consistently? So you have those two. And I think what I walked away from this football game saying with the performances that both of them had with 15 receptions and 200 plus yards between the two of them, multiple touchdowns, is okay, stop them consistently. And now what you get, and we saw a little dabble with Max Clare, we saw a little dabble with Brandon Ennis. It's like Now the evolution of this offense is getting those guys more involved, which will keep Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith getting one-on-one coverage. And it goes back to what I said last week. It's a testament to the job that Mark Pantoni has done. It's a job to the testament of the development of the Brian Hartline at the wide receiver position, of making it, today's version, or, depending on who you talk to, the wide receiver university. You look at what Jackson Smith and Jigba and Emeka Ibuka did against each other. Seattle, Tampa Bay, they both went for like 15 and 300 plus yards and multiple touchdowns at the NFL level. So a high school kid that wants to be fed the football, that will be developed in the scarlet and gray and produce and win, and then go do that at the next level. There's no other program right now in all of college football. And, and we're not even saying this out of bias. It's just a fact of the way that things are playing out.
Yeah.
That it is Ohio State. It is Brian Hartline. It is this offense. And I think that, Julian Sayin now, through 5 games or 6 weeks of the college football season, is probably the best deep ball thrower of any quarterback in college football. So to have 2 weapons that can get behind a defense, and now you have the best deep ball passing quarterback in all of college football after 6 weeks of college football, allows you to loosen up these defenses. And I think it's also why you didn't quite need Bo Jackson and James Peoples and the run game to be so efficient. It was just the yin and yang of run the football just enough to then get a little bit of lack of eye discipline by the back end, and then throw it over your head to some very talented wide receivers.
Yeah. I mean, I'm stammering here only because I wanted to jump into Saturday night when I'm sitting there in the press box watching, and I even asked Julian saying this after the game, but boy, he had pop on his fastball too, man. I mean, and when you've got sure-handed dudes like Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith just snagging. I don't know how fast a football goes. I should know that. But
Tim, I'll just say that, and this is the best testament to also for Julian Sayin, to kind of pick up where you were talking about where his confidence is and how he's evolved through 5 starting games.
Correct.
And now he only had 4 incompletions. The RPO pass that he almost threw for an interception down at, inside the red zone, when he flashed the football and then just slung it. And I don't know whether it was Tate or Jeremiah. I don't even know who it was, but it was almost the Minnesota defender did a great job of not chasing the inside slant and then popped back outside and got a hand on it, which is what led to the incompletion. But that confidence that he has to go, I'm just going to rip it and my guy's going to come down with it. And and it goes back to, and that's what I just said, like, that was a fastball, that was thrown so hard that the Minnesota defender played it perfectly and couldn't corral because there was so much heat on it. And I think what you're seeing, and again, if you watch NFL football, you see Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford and Josh Allen and the elite quarterbacks of the National Football League have that confidence, that rip it in those small windows.
Yep.
We're seeing that from a first-year starter in Julian Sayin with these elite players on the outside and at the wide receiver position, along with the confidence of Brian Hartline and Ryan Day as they build these plans to allow Julian Sayin after 5 weeks to do it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to lead up to is, the first time starting quarterback earlier, month and a half ago, you don't want him throwing between the hashes too much, because there are windows, and then there are curtains on those windows sometimes you don't see. Right.
Yes, absolutely.
That become more apparent to you. Heck, even in the NFL, they play with those curtains all the time. But they become more and more aware to you as you play the game at this higher speed than you did in high school. And you're right. That was the thing that jumped out to me as much as anything else on Saturday night against Minnesota, was they're not as reluctant to have him throw the ball in those windows anymore, and he's not reluctant to let her rip.
Well, I think so much of that has to do with, again, playing with high efficiency for a game or two, completing it at the percentage that he is. And in some cases, to go back to your point that you're making, like, Ryan Day and Brian Hartline were, having him operate maybe with kid gloves and giving him a little bit of more of a leash, each and every week by proving him that he won't throw the football to the other team, that he won't put the ball in peril, which again can turn a game very quickly. So it was very strategic to bring them along the way that they did. And I think in many cases, the other gift that I'm sure we'll get to, in our time together is you can turn around and hand the football off and get 4 or 5 yards of carry, no matter whether it's Donaldson, Peoples, or Bo Jackson. And then I'm sure what we'll get to, as I am a defender, is what the stingy defense that you have allows you to become as an offense.
Oh yeah, we're getting to that.
You don't have to score 50. And I'm saying, and again, everybody wants to score 50. Everybody wants to score 42. But there's going to be games, and that might be this week against Illinois or at Camp Randall or Penn State when they come to town in a couple of weeks, because they're going to get their stuff fixed because they're a good football team, right? They're just not playing that well right now.
Right.
That the luxury that we have through 5 games to have a defense giving up 5 points a game, hard to score on the red zone. 1 of 11 on third down. Minnesota was, so you're stingy on third down. Minnesota's 0 for 1 on fourth down. So giving that opportunity back to the offense, the field position game we can get into, the data analytics is like, it's uncanny right now what our defense is doing. And it's great that the offense, Tyler Bowen on the offensive line, can tinker with, run game coordination and what they like and what runners doing what best at this point. And I think like the lead dog is Bo Jackson, true freshman, which is wild. But then it allows you to bring along Julian Sayin and explore concepts with Max Clare in the offense and explore concepts with Ennis and Tate and Jeremiah because of the amount of, and that's the one thing I think that sometimes doesn't get talked about enough is chess piecing Jeremiah so that you still get him his touches, and get him his looks, 6 for 70 and 2 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
But then the attention that he gets, and then but now you chess piece Carnell Tate, who's also playing like a first round pick, to take advantage of those one-on-one opportunities that Carnell Tate's going to get because you've got a player on the other side like Jeremiah, who when you motion him, 3 people move with him everywhere he goes. And I think that's the one thing that, and I think it's maybe just probably out of the respect I have for PJ Fleck as a coach, just being so in tune to his pregame press conference, talking about Ohio State's defense and Jeremiah and Julian Sayin and the Ohio State team, as they're made up. And then also on the other side is like talking about them postgame. It's like they mirror each other. So what he saw going into the game on how good we were and what we did on Saturday night were one and the same. Elite defense that gives you multi-different looks, that tackle well, that cover well, that pressure you, and an offense full of skill players that you don't know who to stop.
Yeah. Like I was, who was I talking? Sonny Styles or whatever, but I forgot. Bottom line is I said, man, if they can figure out that first series every week, they'll really have something going on for them. But I wanted to ask you that. That's what I wanted to ask you. That first series is all about taking a measure of what that other team's going, how kind of like a feel for how that team is going to attack you, right? And you don't always get every answer right out of the gate. What do you see going on there? And then from that moment on, Matt Patricia and his coaches, Tim Walt and everybody adjusting. Go ahead.
It's fantastic. And I think it's a very similar conversation as we had post Washington, right? It was that drive down the field where you're like, man, Washington looks really good on our very, very good defense.
Yeah.
But yet then again, they only kick a field goal. So they'll only go up 3-0 with those early successes. And so much of it, and we see it at the high school level, as a coach as well, that when you have a team that scripts their first plays, their first 8 to 15 plays are usually on a script. Well, that script is what your offense feels most comfortable with. That's your quarterback, that's your receivers, that's the offensive line blocking the front with run game stuff and protecting against different looks. And I think Matt Patricia is just kind of okay coming out, maybe being a little bit more vanilla, knowing that he's going to be scripted, and kind of weathering that storm and letting his players play, especially, and again, 2 weeks in a row, a team goes right down the field. Completion, what was he, 6 of 6, 7 of 7, the quarterback was from Minnesota. And then all of a sudden he's 7 of 17, and he hasn't completed a pass in 2 quarters of football. Yeah. It has so much to do with the team practicing those scripted plays for the exact look they're going to get out of an Ohio State defense. But then when you're off script and you force a play caller, to go against the elite speed, the elite tackling ability of our defense, the looks. And I think that's the one thing, both, again, I also say mirroring PJ Fleck's comments before the game and after the game, is 5 plays on defense, 5 different fronts, 5 different coverages. So it's not just line up and play the same thing with great players. It's great players. Where are they identifying? Are they blitzing? Are they not? What's the coverage? Are they going to roll? Are they playing man? Is it quarters? Is it cover 3? Are we in Tampa 2? So that Matt Patricia, mad scientist level of defensive football is at this juncture in the season through 5 games, driving play callers and office coordinators insane.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to circle back to the defense in a minute, but I want to circle back to the offense again. See, that's what I was getting to is with Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, they are plan beaters the way I look at it, meaning defensive plan beaters, because we also saw one-on-one, they are both very tough to cover. And then when you scheme some stuff and you drop 3 deep and you throw underneath, like you pointed out, they can catch a dig or a deep slant or a medium slant and then turn it up. And wow, now what do you say about your you know what I mean? It's like that's what you were alluding to. And that is such a luxury. But then you've got to have the guy, like you said, who's slinging it, who's putting the ball on the money. And that's the combo they've really got going. And there are games where you run the ball better than you throw it, and there are games where you throw the ball better than you run it. Saturday night was an example of they were going to beat Minnesota throwing the ball. You could see the intent. I mean, they did run the ball fairly. Bo Jackson started the game, his first start as a college football player, freshman at running back. But you could tell they knew that don't fool around here, right? Blow the safe with the amount of dynamite you need.
Absolutely.
And that's what really stood out to me about this Ohio State offense on Saturday night was they weren't reluctant to put the dynamite on the table.
Absolutely. And the one thing I think too, for Ohio State fans, and not that saying they're going to nitpick, after a 42-3 victory, but if you did want to nitpick as a fan and someone who's crazy about Ohio State football the way a lot of us are, is you continue to watch, or at least not watch, but monitor Minnesota as a defense. They're a stout run-stopping defense.
Yes.
And as we found out with Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, now everybody else isn't going to have Carnell Smith and Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, so it might not look exactly the same, but they're very stingy as a defensive front. Their front 7 don't give up a lot of rushing yards no matter who they play. Now, we found some of the liabilities on the back end. To your point about setting the dynamite, it's like if it's there, take it. Right? Yeah. If it's there, blow the safe, right? And then walk in and get the money. And that seems what we did. But Minnesota is a good football team. Yep. Minnesota is a very good defensive front 7 that's going to stop the run, not only against Ohio State, but against UCLA and Penn State, and they did it against Rutgers and so on. So that's something to monitor. And I think what you have to love about being not only the number 1 team in the country, having the number 1 defense in all of football, the most efficient quarterback in all of college football now in Julian Sayin, who, as I also just proclaimed, and I'm also regurgitating what Joe Platt and some of the other validated college football sources, is the best deep ball thrower of college football right now, as we are through 6 football games. Is you go with what's working. Why turn around and hand the ball off and go 3 yards in a cloud of dust for the sake of doing it when you have the skill set of the players? You get the transfer of Max Clare, and it's not that he's even all that involved in the offense, but it's just like, get them their touches, run them on the routes. And in some cases, just, having the mindset of an offense or defense coordinator, there are some things that you want to just see a play that maybe you had ready for Washington that you didn't get to run based on game flow that you want to run, in the first. we got to get this concept because we mastered it in practice. We just didn't get a chance to call it against Washington,
Yep.
on the road. Let's throw it out there in the second quarter and see what it looks like against someone else that's not our practice squad guys, or our look squad. And you go run it. And then again, does it work? Does it not? And then you kind of continue to tweak. And I think that's the ever evolving process of us as an offense. As good as we are, I think, Ryan Day talked about who was it? James Peoples going the wrong way, on the run play.
Yeah.
And Julian Sayin, and I know that it's Ryan Day, with the 15 million people watching this night game going, why is he running sideways? The Julian Sayin, a QB run as opposed to getting downhill and getting those yards. He wants to try to pop.
Yeah, I think he was talking about Lincoln Keno's one time, but go ahead. That play they put, but go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're right. You might be right. I'm sorry. Yeah, but it's one of those situations where at this point, you're 5-0. You're the number one team in the country. You've got the Stingy defense. Your offense goes for 400 plus. You throw for 300 and change, and you start to nitpick, and you start to become a perfectionist of nitpicking the little things that when you're probably playing a better team, and it's in a closer game, and maybe it's on the road. At some point in the coming weeks that. You want to call that play again. You just want it executed to perfection the way that it was drawn up on a board, and then it became to fruition in practice, and it got validated enough in practice that you want to run it in a game. And now you want to master those things. And I think it's such a gift that this program right now sits where they're at and has the opportunity to nitpick the small things to continue to be great.
Absolutely. I want to ask you this. This has occurred to me on Saturday night, and I had never thought about this before for some reason, but I'm watching Minnesota play defense, and they insisted on playing man because that's what they do now. This year, that is what they do. And the thought occurred to me, and if I could have gone over and asked PJ Fleck this, I would. I like PJ Fleck a lot. I think he's extremely talented coach.
As do I.
But do you throw everything out the window of what your plan is for the year just to play in Ohio State, if you follow my drift? Or do you stick with the plan is going to get you, you're not contending for the national championship probably this year, but do you stick with the plan defensively that down the road is going to work for 9 out of 10 teams you play? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know you do some things that maybe are different than you would have against a Purdue or something, but don't you pretty much stick to what you are or what you want to be, no matter that you're playing the number one team in the country? Am I wrong about that? Because that sure looked like what happened to Minnesota, and it sure looked like Ohio State took advantage of the things that were available in the secondary, throwing the ball. I mean, am I wrong about that, you think?
No, you're absolutely right about that. And I think the one thing that kind of can trickle down from head coach to the coordinators, or especially in this case, you're talking about the defense coordinator, because you're playing Ohio State and they have all this talent with Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate exclusively, on each side and their deep ball capability, that all of a sudden you create a depiction of being scared as a defense. As a defensive coordinator, it goes, oh, these guys, and you start over sensationalizing how great they are, even though they're great. Yeah. And you go, so instead of running our man stuff, which we're so good at, and it's been a core piece of our defense, we're going to play a bunch of cover 3 and quarters with these umbrellas over top of them. So they don't
umbrella day. Yeah.
Correct. But then again, and what popped into my head when you kind of answered this question or asked this question is otherwise it's death by 1,000 paper cuts because we're still very talented. And so if you're going to play that cloud, cover 3 umbrella defense, and so we don't, Carnell Tate doesn't catch the 50-yard touchdown, but the efficiency from Julian Sayin looks the same, but he throws for, say, 275, and doesn't quite average maybe 12 yards, per completion. He averages 9 per completion, right? Yeah. Because everything is just under. And that's what's great about this is when Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith do run downfield, even against cover 3, everyone's got to sync with them, right? Or they're running those deep overs. That opens up the check down to Peoples or Bo Jackson out of the backfield with a linebacker or a buzz player 15 yards deep trying to get underneath an out route, run by Jeremiah Smith. And then all of a sudden Peoples catches it. gets gets 12 yards on a check down and then gets out of bounds, and it's a first down anyway. So it's just a matter of, a defensive coordinator, or in this case, the mindset of a team like Minnesota, drawing a line in the sand and go, they're good. We get it. This is the challenge. We're up for it. We're not going to deviate from who we are. And we're going to give them our best effort, and we will be better as a defense and better as a team because of it moving forward. Because,
Right.
How many more times this year will a Minnesota football team see a team with 2 elite first-round pick level wide receivers like Ohio State? Probably 0.
Yeah.
So they'll take these bumps and bruises, watch the tape, master the technique, and then when they go play lesser talent, there's still that instilled confidence that we can put our guys on the island and they can win.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the last 2 weeks were examples of one or the other. The one was Washington made Ohio State go the long way, and Ohio State did. Only had 6 possessions. They obviously won. They gave one away with the fumble on the really good punt return, the fumble at the end of it by Brandon Ennis out there. But they had 6 real possessions in that game, still scored enough points to make it a one-sided game. And that was a team. But that's also the luxury of having, like you said, the defense you've got. I asked you this last week. I even asked Archie Griffin this last week. I even asked Sonny Styles this after the game the other night. Is it fun playing on a defense like this? And fun may not be, I don't want it to be, everybody's out there running around laughing, I'm talking about
enjoyment.
9 times out of 10, everybody's doing their job. The old Bill Belichick line. Matt Patricia, I'm sure, uses that line in some form or fashion, having worked for Bill Belichick all those years. But it is fun watching this defense operate. I mean, not just from the way that they are shutting people down, but to watch, like they ran a coverage scheme the other night, and I think it was Caleb Downs picked up the tight end coming across on a little angle route. I call it an arrow route. You call it whatever you want, but an angle route off the line, and the quarterback threw it toward him anyway. And here's Caleb Downs there to make the play. I think it was Caleb Downs. But my point was, before the play, Ohio State had deployed his front 4, and before the snap, the 2 outside guys moved inside, and the 2 inside guys moved outside. I'm talking about on the front 4. So I would think, and you were part and parcel to some really damn good defenses, both in the college football and the NFL, but there comes a time when you kind of feel like you're having fun out there, doesn't there?
You absolutely are. It's the equivalent to an offense that scores a lot of points or scores a lot of touchdowns. And so there's that joy of running down after your buddy and, lifting them up and celebrating them in the end zone, and then jogging, kicking the extra point or jogging off on the sideline, getting the love from all your teammates. That's the equivalent from a defensive standpoint is, a 3 and out, right? Or a turnover, or the big hits, or in some cases, the suffocation, the lack of yardage, because it's the standard that you have to play for when you're on defense, right?
Yeah.
It's not, because again, yes, defensive touchdowns are extremely rare. So you don't have those equivalent celebrations that an offense does. So then what's the equivalent, massive celebration, a sack, forced fumble, right? And there's a joy about it. And I think what's the most satisfying, and I think, as we watched last year's football team with all the household names, as a senior veteran laden group as they were last year, I think what's so fun about this year, and I say it each and every week, is yes, there's the Caleb Downs and the emergence of Arvell Reese, and you've got Sonny Styles, but now it's who's going to make the next play.
Yeah,
the household names were always the guys delivering the plays last year, and they 30-some plus starts. It was like, oh, JTT is going to make the play eventually. Jack Sawyer is going to make the play eventually. Simon's going to make the play eventually. Now it's this new wave of names. There's no drop off. It's still elite. Matt Patricia, and again, it's for some folks who are a little bit more on like the novice level of football, they might not even know the scheme stuff that Matt Patricia is even doing. But this defense is just fun to watch. It's suffocating. There's not many missed tackles, in space, even, which is again a massive thing from a defense is your ability to tackle. You're getting guys to the ground. You're putting men down in distances that behoove you as a defense and really allow Matt Patricia to, again, him, like not only the players having fun, Matt Patricia's having fun, right?
Yes.
Because you have the buy-in of these 15 to 17 guys that are going out there and, on rotation that are just selling out for each other. That's the brotherhood. That's the culture that I talk about that's kind of existed and been maintained by Ryan Day. And now you bring in new coordinator. And I think what's also satisfying for me as a former player, whenever there's this like new hire, whether it was Jim Knowles, in this case, now it's Matt Patricia, is like, who are they as a person? And I love seeing, it's predominantly on social media, the joy of Matt Patricia doing the team walk into the shoe with his kids with a big smile on the face. They're smiling. He's smiling, and then I also love the candor between Caleb Downs and Matt Patricia that sometimes gets caught either in a still picture or video, and the hugs, after the game, whether it's Edric Houston or Kaden McDowell and Kaden McDonald and Matt Patricia, or Caleb Downs with Matt Patricia. It's like
Caden Curry.
Caden Curry, because of this success, you're making fast friends in 9 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like trust has been earned by players and coach, and it goes both ways to the point where there's just this joy and fun, to go back to your point, and satisfaction with the execution together as a unit, which is I think is extremely unique right now.
Yes.
Through 5 games for a bunch of guys that didn't play a whole lot of football last year, but in like spot duty because of that veteran-laden football team we had last year.
Yeah, the word I would use is trust. I mean, there's trust both ways.
Absolutely.
And that I can throw this out there and you're going to buy it, and then you not only buy it, then you execute it. I trust you, you trust me. That goes a long way, man.
It does. And one last thing I'll say is I think, and I know Ryan Day lives with it every day, given his role as the head football coach. But this is the one thing that I can say as a former player that probably exists now because of the landscape of college football, is the amount of pressure that everyone that dons, the Ohio State logo within the football program has each and every day. And I'm talking like walking to school, walking to class. You're a representation of the Ohio State football program. The effort that you give in the weight room with Mick Marotti, right? Yeah. The attention to detail in the meeting rooms, and then you go out, take it to practice. The amount of scrutiny and the pressure that the coaches put on you to pick up these schemes, this NFL level scheme, Brian Hartline's new scheme with these and I know they're great players, but their ability to go execute it in practice and then carry that over to the game. And again, I say it through 5 games, and I'm not trying to like set us up for some massive trip and fall. I'm just saying it's uncanny through 5 games for a unit to be playing this fluid on both sides of the ball, the efficiency on offense, and also to be as stingy and effective as we are on defense through 5 football games, regardless of the opponents.
Yeah. Hey, real quick before you go, any quick thoughts? I'm not going to ask you about the fact that Texas and Penn State were 1-2 in the Associated Press preseason poll, and now neither one of them are in the top 25. Contenders and pretenders, they emerge in October, right?
They do.
Middle of the season and stuff. It's pretty interesting. But it's pretty interesting because we're seeing this Ohio State team get better, like you just pointed out, as this season moves along. Who you playing? I don't know. You play who you play, right? But just from an execution standpoint on both sides of the ball, like you just pointed out, and it seems like there's a hunger there. The quest for excellence is obvious, right, on this Ohio State team. Am I getting your words right there?
You absolutely are. And I think, again, the pressure of being the number 1 team in the country, the pressure of being the team that came off a national championship, the pressure of those players as Buckeyes who are starting in big roles for the first time, living up to recruiting expectations, Buckeye Nation's expectations of you, living up to the expectations of wearing the scarlet and gray, living up to the expectations of the guys that played your position last year. So there's no drop off. And in many cases, it's exceeding those expectations. And I think that's, again, goes back to kind of what I said a minute ago, that the pressure of being a Buckeye football player is extremely high. And now there's maybe 10 programs in the country that has that level of pressure. And And so, but it's also why Ohio State's not for everybody. That's why Ohio State doesn't offer everybody. That's why everyone chooses another place besides Ohio State. It's a standard. And I think that and that's why Ryan Day, the man, Ryan Day, the coach, Ryan Day, the dad, I have such an immense amount of respect for him, because there's no chinks. Oh, any chink in the armor gets addressed and called out, whether it's coaches and players. Everyone's man enough to hear it and then go back to work the next day to fix it.
Yeah.
They're not stuck feeling sorry for themselves. They're not stuck waiting for the attaboy. The attaboy is going to come that next Saturday when they go out and fix it and show the world, when they're watching, what Buckeye football represents.
Yeah, but how long can you hang on to that, though? I mean, how long can you pull the rope without taking a break, man? I mean,
here's what I'll say to you. This is just part of, and again, you're in it from a media standpoint. It's like, you learn the Minnesota roster, who they are, what they do. You learn all the stats of this football game. And then it's like, after you and I talk about this, you trash everything Minnesota and you move right on to Illinois. And that's a cyclical process, And so Illinois, as a ranked football team, and again, a team that before they got embarrassed by Indiana was a top 10 football team in the country, both in the eyes of the writers and the AP. So it's not just like, if we're not validating one or the other, it's understanding the challenges of this week. And again, and I'll say not only that every school has the pressure of nixing what just happened, whether you won or lost, and pushing that, learning those lessons, pushing those to the side. And we heard Ryan Day talk about, some of those things that need to get addressed and fixed following the Minnesota game. Small stuff, right, in a 42-3 victory, but will be relevant in a close, big game that needs to get addressed. Yeah. And now start to learn and dive immediately right into the challenges that this Illinois football team represents. And every team has to do that. Those that can mix it and learn those lessons, those that can take the hard coaching and hear the hard lessons that come, and deal with the emotional roller coaster of being a college football player while navigating school, while navigating NIL opportunities throughout the week, while maintaining a standard of being the number one team in the country and have the biggest bullseye as anybody coming off a national championship. And the other thing that I'll discount, and this in some cases, and I don't know this to be true, but this is where my mind goes, is like Indiana and Oregon are playing amazing football right now.
Yep.
You don't see either of them, and I know that they'll meet this coming Saturday in an awesome matchup of two top 10 teams. But they have to keep pace with these other very, very good Big Ten football teams, because that's going to matter again when we go up to Ann Arbor and play that team up north late in the football season. That there's these guys are running the race just like we are. We happen to be number one, but they're right on our heels by winning each and every week in the Big Ten. Yeah.
At this point in the season last year, I remind people Ohio State was undefeated, and then had some adversity and came back, et cetera. You're exactly right. Well, Matt Wilhelm, by the way, Lakewood St. Ed's won again. They beat St. Ignatius over the weekend. I guess the best thing about being 6-1 is a chance to go 7-1, right?
7-1, yes, sir. It's and we've got a great challenge. A team from Canada comes down and plays a lot of Ohio schools. They're developing. They've got some size. They've got some skill. And just like Ohio State, we're going to learn those lessons today, because it's high school ball, of what needs to be addressed coming out of that Ignatius win. We're going to compartmentalize it. It's over, and we're going to move on right on to this new challenge for us and master it and go out on Friday night. It's senior night, so all the 2026 boys get to get recognized. Mason in our case, and my wife and I will get recognized as a senior. And I guess one thing I'll leave you with, and this is wild for all the parents across the country, is, and I said this to Mason, we were sitting watching an NFL game yesterday, 75 days. Mason is 75 days away from his high school career, not football, but even high school education being over with. Before he goes on winter break, and he'll be early enrolling at North Carolina. And for all these young men that are going to go these other places, it's like it's wild. It goes fast. And but again, super blessed, super lucky. And again, we're trying to go 7-1, no doubt.
Yeah, man. Cherish the moments, man. Cherish the moments.
We try.
Yeah. By the way, when a team comes down and they're used to playing 12-man football and they have to play 11, no, I'm just messing. But it is Canada's kind of a messed up place a little bit, right? Because the teams y'all play American regulation football, right?
Yes. So this team, the team that we play, and we've been playing them for now 3, 4, 5 years in a row now. They are. It's basically 50% Canadian football players, and then some guys that like migrate across the border to play in this like developmental high school level.
Gotcha.
It's all American coaches. It's all
like
football.
an IMG academy kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. It just happens to be across the border, and they, there's not much American football in Canada. So they come down, they play Massillon, they play us, they play Ignatius, they played Walsh Jesuit. So they come down and travel, so they have the means to do that. And again, for Walsh and us and Hoban and other schools, there's not a lot of schools, waiting in the wings to schedule us. So when we can get a game, and they're a very competitive game as they keep getting better every year, we're going to take up that challenge.
Gotcha. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable Matt Wilhelm. Matt, thank you once again
sir.
for joining the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall. And
my pleasure.
We will see you again next week, my friend.
No doubt. Go Bucks.
Yeah, I like me some Matt Wilhelm. I don't care. I mean, we've been doing this for several years now, and he pays attention. I don't know how he does everything he does, but also he helps, like I said, an assistant coach with Lakewood St. Ed's and on the defensive side of the ball, and he really loves him some football.
Well, you can just hear it.
Yeah, but former pro, a lot of former Buckeyes in the pros now too, right? I mean,
I got a list for you.
Give me a list real quick, man.
Huge weekend. Emeka Ibuka against Jackson Smith and Jigba. Bucks against the Hawks. What a display by those two. Wait
a minute. A week after Jackson Smith and Jigba and Marvin Harrison Jr. went toe-to-toe, so to speak.
C.J. Stroud, 4 touchdown passes against a ailing Ravens franchise.
Wow.
And real props as well to Vrabes. Mike Vrabel, the Patriots head coach, trying to bring them back to glory, and a major, major step last night on a Sunday night football as he brought his team, the Patriots, and put the Bills down by 3 points close to the buzzer.
Yep.
Incredible.
Playing Mike Vrabel football too, man.
He did. By the way, he did. I love his, and though he's tough and hard-nosed and can be a son of a gun.
Yes.
I love the fact.
There you go. Cleaned that up. Go ahead now.
Yeah. I love the fact when he meets every player at the locker room after the game and he, handshake, hug. I mean, that goes a long way. And all the talking heads were like the culture he has built since Belichick. And they're right back in it. They're in the division race now at 3-2. So a good weekend for former Buckeyes. Should we, Taraja Mitchell, you want that little comment?
Well, you can say what he said about Carnell Tate. I've got a little soundbite coming from Carnell Tate here in a second. But what did he say about Clay? What did Taraja Mitchell, former Ohio State linebacker who transferred to Florida, I think?
He did.
I think he has degrees from both schools, so kudos.
Yeah. Now an entrepreneur in Miami.
Yeah.
As he said, and he's mentioned this a few times this year, very insider on college football, quote, every time I see those wide receiver mock draft lists, I think it's invalid when they don't have Tate top 3.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Well, I agree. I mean, and, Jeremiah Smith, of course, is not going to be eligible for the draft this coming year.
But
so
this guy is.
Carnell Tate should be zooming up draft boards for everybody who's just now doing their homework. Because in my opinion, going into the year, he should have been considered among the elite. Let's put it that way. Who knows? It's always a selective process when it comes to the draft and subjective. But
sure.
Of course, it's selective because they're selecting. But the point is, it's Carnell Tate because he's got enough speed. He's got enough. People forget that was a tough catch he had for that first touchdown against Texas.
Bingo. Huge play. Excuse
me. The second touchdown against Texas in that 14-7 win. I mean, he can go up and get the ball too. And yes, and he's showing it more and more. And by the way, we got to talk to him a little bit after the game. I'll just run this little sound bite that we had from Carnell Tate after his huge career high 9 catches, 183 yards, and 1 touchdown. But they had 3 catches of 44 yards or longer in that game, as I think 44, 46, and 49. I mean, he was the big play the big play outlet, so to speak. Let's just see what he had to say in a little brief thing here. Not only talking about maybe the offense and stuff, but also the defense and the way Ohio State defense is playing.
What do you say, a message maybe y'all left tonight with this team? I mean, beating this team at your homecoming game, but beating them basically soundly. I mean, what are y'all telling the nation, I guess, more than anything else?
We're just telling the nation we're here. We're going to continue to get better each and every week. We're going to play Ohio State branded football.
Yeah.
What's it like being on the sideline and watching? I mean, I know you're working on your next series and all that, but knowing what the defense is doing out there and that they've limited opponents to so few touchdowns this year.
That brings excitement, bro. We go against them all the time in practice, so we know what they're capable of. They give us hell in practice, and they go out there and put on a show for the world to see. So we're excited for them, and plus we get the ball back, so we can't be more excited than that.
You guys move the ball on them in practice?
Oh yeah, definitely. We have our fair share. They have their fair share. So yeah.
It's even Steven, I
See,
guess.
sometimes the practices Ryan Day sort of says this sometimes. The practices should be tougher than the games a lot of times when Ohio State plays football. But imagine trying to crack that defense and no wonder Julian Sayin is throwing the ball kind of right on the money because he has to in practice.
That's it.
When they go ones good against good, ones against ones, and sometimes ones against twos, the depth on the Ohio State defense is really coming to the fore now too. You know, when you put your second team defense out there, pretty stout, and you look at Riley Pettijohn got into the game again in the fourth quarter the other day and was playing elite right on down the line, and some of those backup defensive linemen. But boy,
Zion Grady.
But the way like Will Smith Jr. has come on in the last couple of weeks is huge at the defensive tackle spots. Edric Houston's kind of has refound his mojo. It looks like for no one of another term. And then I've already talked about the way Tywan Malone has come on. Those are big developments for this defense. And then Bo Atkinson having to go in, the transfer from North Carolina, having to go in for Kenyatta Jackson and played a really good game, in my opinion. I don't grade him because I almost go play to play. How did you play? Right. And, but he flashed several times in that game. Agreed?
Yeah, I mean, there was so much trepidation about the depth on the D line going into the season. I think more worry about that than Julian Sayin. And those, as you said, they've built depth. Now they can spread those reps around and be fresh and roll them as the Rushman likes to do.
Yeah, let's hear a couple of comments from Sonny Styles, the Black O jersey wearer, bearer, captain, but just talking about maybe a little bit about defense and about his older brother who caught the throw over pass from Brandon Ennis on that punt and almost took it to the house.
Coach Patricia and the rest of us, we thought we were giving a little bit too much free access throws. I let him just stand up and throw it, off coverage, stuff like that. We thought we had to tighten up our coverage and, play challenge coverage.
How tough is that to make adjustments, not just in game, but after one singular series?
I think we're to the point where we got a lot of mature guys, a lot of smart football players, so it's not too hard, honestly. Especially when you get those iPads, you get straight to the sideline, you see all the stuff they're doing, and you're getting exactly what they're doing. Hey, they did this many runs, this many passes, stuff like that.
Are you going to help Lorenzo Jr. help him on his speed this week? You had to feel good about your brother, though, right?
Yeah, that was awesome. Once I knew the play was coming, once I saw the setup, I thought he was about to score.
Yeah.
He said his legs were a little tired, so give him the benefit of the doubt.
Nothing wrong with having a couple of Styles on your team, right?
Oh, wow.
Styles make fights, as a former boxing trainer, J.D. McCauley, the late great J.D. McCauley, said, many times when I was covering Buster Douglas, his nephew, and but the Styles like to get in fights when it comes to playing defensive football. By fights, I mean competition. I don't mean fisticuffs.
Yeah.
And what that must be like for Lorenzo. Yeah, absolutely.
Mom. Yeah,
absolutely. You have to be so proud. I know pride comes before the fall, but you got to be, when you're watching your kids or your grandkids like I'm doing now play sports, it's so much fun when they're achieving. And anyway,
you're right.
It is what it is. This show is coming rapidly to an end.
All right.
I think people can hear the brakes screeching as you hit the brakes. Hey, I got to go somewhere, Tim. I got to go somewhere too. But any last thoughts, man, from over the weekend headed into this one? We're going to have, if the link up happens, we're going to have your cousin. No, not your cousin. Is it your cousin? Yeah. A guy who worked for Nick Saban, but we're not going to go any farther than that on the intro right now with detail, but we're going to have him on midweek, aren't we?
Yeah, entertaining guy for sure. And we'll let him go as long as he's entertaining.
Right, because he is entertaining. And he has a specialty that he does, which we'll talk about later, but that's why he's entertaining. But
you were going to ask me who my number one team was.
Yes.
I like Lanning and Oregon.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, your best team other than Ohio State.
Yeah, right. Carson Beck, to me, I feel like he's at some point he's going to go sideways.
Okay.
I like Oregon. Lanning is an absolute animal. Ole Miss, tough for me to say. I think Lane Kiffin's done an incredible job there, and I think he would have moved on maybe even a couple of times, but he has found himself as a person. He said, I needed Ole Miss more than they needed me. He has found a solace and something as a father that he didn't have before, and that's
fulfillment.
And that bingo, and that is more valuable than the W's. But I just see him as a changed man in a lot of ways, and he's making nice coin there as well. I was going to shout out to you, Quincy Porter had a catch the other night. You've kind of talked about him a little bit.
It's early, still early in the season, ladies and gentlemen.
Well,
a lot of Buckeyes can step forward as the season goes on. I really like Quincy Porter. He is a big dude, man, and he is not afraid to go lateral when it comes to catching the football. And so I'm looking forward to that. It's really funny. We'll talk about this later in the week, but there's kind of almost an elimination game coming up this Saturday in Eugene, Oregon, with Indiana playing at Oregon. Maybe the way the season is looking right now, you would put Ohio State maybe in that Big Ten championship game for the first time in what?
A long time.
5 years. Since
4
2020 or whatever.
Yeah.
And it looks like the team they would play, based on how we look at things right now today, would be the winner of Oregon and Indiana. And
who you got there?
You got like Oregon at home, but I'm telling you,
for sure.
I don't mind patting myself on the back. Everybody was acting like Indiana was a one-hit wonder last week. I go, last year. You weren't paying attention to what Kurt Cignetti and his group did in the offseason again. And they've got a better quarterback than they had a year ago. Their defense is playing extremely well.
Yeah.
They took Illinois and turned them inside out. I'm talking about from a defensive standpoint. And so
63-10.
Yeah, but it was crazy. Illinois could not, as the old saying goes, get off the pot. Yeah. And now that's where Ohio State is playing this week, Luke Altmaier. Otherwise, Illinois played extremely well this year. So, but I just see this as a possible elimination game, because if they both end up with one loss, but they have a win over the other one, then they would that team would go to the Big Ten championship game, barring any other, because it looks like Penn State with 2 losses in the Big Ten now is, for all intents and purposes, eliminated from that contention. Now they can come up a few weeks from now in Ohio Stadium and really upset an apple cart.
Well,
but I'm telling you, I just see Ohio State still, just like last year, as having the talent advantage over anyone else in the Big Ten. Over Oregon, it's very small.
Yeah,
over Indiana, it's a little bit larger, but it's still a talent advantage. And but like I said, not even to the halfway point when it comes to the schedule.
Right. And a couple road games coming up. So.
Oh, yeah. At Illinois, at Wisconsin.
I got some Altmaier scoop later in the week.
You got it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the incomparable Clay Hall. I'm Tim May. Until next time, we'll see you then.